Well, welcome to Meet the Candidate, and my guest for this session is Erin Georgen. Erin,
Yes.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And Erin is running for Spokane School District 81, Director Position 4.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll just start where we start with everybody and tell us about where you grew up and went to school.
I mostly grew up in Spokane, or at least the Spokane area. I started off in 9 Mile Falls. We moved around the city quite a bit when I was in elementary and middle school, and I graduated from Mount Spokane High School.
Okay. And that's the formal education. Is there some other formal education after that you took on?
Yes, actually, I did. I joined the Coast Guard first, and so there's some
Oh, my dad was a Coastie.
informal education that happens when you're in the Coast Guard. So I got some physical therapy training down in Texas, and then I later in life decided to go back to school and potentially start my own business. So I got my graphic design degree in Portland when I was right around 31.
So you've had serial careers.
Yes.
That's a good background, actually. While you were growing up, was there some non-school activities that really drew you in?
Yes, I've always been really passionate about art, and so I've spent a lot of my free time either doing creative writing or art, or appreciating other people's creative writing and art. So music is another one of my hobbies, though we're not like very good, we just enjoy it.
Well, yeah, not everybody has to be a performer for others, but just performing
enjoy
for
it.
yourself,
Yes.
yeah, for your own enjoyment. Well, I also like to ask people about their first jobs.
My first job was actually for Wendy's, the one
That's the traditional start, you know.
the one that's down at the Y. I actually worked there from 16 till right after I graduated from high school.
What drew you to the Coast Guard?
I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life yet, and it offered me some opportunity to travel with housing and promise for funding for college and things like that later. So I didn't want to go to war, and so I specifically sought out the Coast Guard, and it ended up being a great start. It gave me a lot of really great experience. And when I went back to college, I knew where I wanted to go.
Not everybody knows at 18. Hardly anybody knows at 18, but, quite honestly. So while you were in the Coast Guard, where were you stationed?
My first station was actually in Seattle on a ship. We went to Alaska a lot. Like I said, I got some training down in Texas. I was also stationed in Elizabeth City, North Carolina for about a year and a half. And that was my last unit. I did some reserves duty in San Diego, California as well.
Okay. My father always made a joke about the Coast Guardsmen who found themselves stationed at the Loran Station in George, Washington, as being really surprised at how their traveling the world didn't quite turn out. So yours turned out much better.
A little bit better, although my one regret sometimes is that I didn't stay in longer and travel more. Sometimes I look back and I think, why did I think I needed to get out? But I love where my life is now too.
Yeah. What's something that you learned from the travel that you did get to enjoy?
Well, for one, that I was sorely underprepared for the diversity of life that exists even in our own country, just how different cultures were everywhere I went, and the kind of challenges that people faced everywhere I went. I grew up relatively privileged here in Spokane, and so it was definitely an eye-opening experience to see how other people lived across the country.
Okay. Is there some place in particular that gave you some experience that helped you figure out what you wanted to do when you got out? What prompted you to graphic design? How did you figure out where you were going?
Honestly, that's a full circle kind of story. I spent 4 years of high school, 3 years of high school doing newspaper, and so that kind of was design in a way. That was my first introduction to photography and things like that. So when I graduated from high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I have a lot of family that works in medicine in one way or another, and so I naturally kind of gravitated toward that in the Coast Guard. But when I had an opportunity to decide kind of the trajectory of my career, it was go back to school for physical therapy and get my doctorate, or go back to school and maybe do that thing that I never really thought was a job when I was younger.
Yeah, it was just something you did for fun, but to learn you could make a living out of it.
Yes, so I took a stab at it, and I've been running my own business now for about 5 years, and it's great.
Okay. So what prompted you to step up to this this next level and to volunteer to run for public office?
Well, I've wanted for the last couple of years, I've been inspired to find a way to give back to my community in a civic way. So I've always done some kind of volunteer work off and on in my life, but I want to give back in a civic way. And so a couple of years ago, I started looking into options, and over the last couple of years, I thought school board was a good place, primarily because my daughter's in the public school system, and she will be for the foreseeable future. We don't plan on going anywhere. At first, I was not able to because she was struggling a lot in school. We got to where we were participating in the BI program. That's been a huge success. It's been hugely helpful for my family, and now I want to make sure every school has those programs and that they're applied early. It took a little too long to get it, but once we got it, it was awesome. So
what does that acronym stand for?
BI, that's behavioral intervention.
Okay.
She was struggling a lot with anxieties and things like that when it comes to the classroom, and that exploded in behavioral problems.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
Behavioral intervention is a type of program within our school system at certain schools in which they have a smaller classroom size and teachers who are trained to address and help them learn how to cope with the anxieties, the emotions, maybe overcome those things without the behavioral aspect. So it's how do we participate in a society when we're mad? How do we follow directions
There's a lot of people
when
that
we
could use
don't
that
want
training,
to?
actually.
So that's the idea. And so I was inspired to make sure that these really great programs get out to all the schools, that all the parents have the ability to access them right away when a child is struggling.
Yeah, because the earlier the intervention, the less time and
Yes.
energy it's going to take on
Yes.
everybody's part. So, okay, so that's a great motivation.
Absolutely.
The last question I get to is to describe what you see as the duties and responsibilities of a school board member, and why should people vote for you to fulfill those responsibilities?
Excellent. The school board member's main responsibility is to serve all of the people in our community, in particular the kids. So how do we serve teachers so that they can best serve the kids? How do we serve the parents so they can best serve the kids? How do we serve all the other staff members that work for the school system so that the students can do better? And that includes all the stakeholders, people who pay taxes in but don't necessarily have children. Let's make sure the kids get the best education they can from those tax dollars. So.
Okay. And
I feel like I'm best able to do
There you
that
go.
because because I'm a parent. I understand very, very real, in a very real way, what a lot of parents are dealing with every day. I'm a working parent. I'm a single parent. I've depended a lot on family. I've lived in this community for such a long time. I know exactly what families are dealing with, and I think I can bring that voice to the table.
Okay. Erin, I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks
Erin
so
Georgen
much.
for Spokane School Board.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.